be continuing, and the fun is only beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE Smackdown every Saturday night. My name's John Zindel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
We are today 1 week away from Elimination Chamber and from a lot of other stuff happening on the road to WrestleMania. So without further ado, John, do you smell a lead story here? Because I do as well. Don't bury the lead. What's our top story from WWE Smackdown for February 21st?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And the lead is going to be a little bit different. Typically, we're picking the main event. But The Rock is in town in New Orleans. And he arrives, shoots a very long-winded promo about WrestleMania being in New Orleans, which seemed to be the big topic that was going to be discussed. Eventually calls out Cody Rhodes to the ring. They have kind of a little bit of a back and forth. He tells Cody he wants him to be, I want you to be my champion. And he said, I want you to give me your soul. Very, I would say very good / strange, almost bizarre promo by The Rock here, as it looks like, we have Rock versus Cody at some point in the future. I know that's a lot for the lead. I usually keep it short and just say who wins, but there's a lot to take in here. Dom, what'd you think of this promo by The Rock and then Cody Rhodes and The Rock chatting with each other?
The Rock is trying to, set up Cody Rhodes turning heel.
Ooh.
Cody Rhodes is going to be, he's trying to set up Cody Rhodes as the corporate heel champion.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got The Rock. It's like he can't help himself. He loves playing to the crowd, but on the other hand, he knows he has to do the heel persona. And so it took a while for it to get out there, but once Cody was out there, The Rock is trying to do the corporate heel board of directors. He was almost casting himself as the chairman of the board, which I'm not sure if that's accurate for the company, but he was trying to put himself in that role, the final boss, all the stuff like that. This is you had the two quotes there, the same ones I highlighted, that The Rock wants Cody, I want you to be my champion, and then I want your soul.
Yeah, I want your soul is wild line, but
Yes.
I think a really good one. This was a good promo. Very strange. Very I was taken aback like a bit by the length of it and what it could potentially be. It's funny that you should say you're setting up, Cody Rhodes' heel turn, but then if Cody says no, then is it The Rock versus Cody at WrestleMania? Is that match going to happen? Because I don't see Cody having a lined up opponent on the horizon, but ultimately, they would do anything to get The Rock to wrestle in WrestleMania to have him versus Cody. That was the one, that would kind of make sense here. So, it could go either way. It's either Cody turns heel, which would be a little strange at this point to turn him heel because he's so over as a face.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you've mentioned it in the past here, where do we have too many faces on the roster on the SmackDown side? So make the champ heel would be pretty wild, and also a good way to make the, I think it'd be a good way to extend Cody Rhodes' reign in an interesting way is to turn him heel toward the tail end.
Yeah, I think Cody's opponent for WrestleMania is going to be whoever wins Elimination Chamber. So we just got 1 week to find that out. Because Jay chose Gunther after winning Royal Rumble. So that means the other men's world title is determined by Elimination Chamber. And yeah, The Rock may be involved in WrestleMania. I don't know if he's wrestling. I don't know if we get a Rock Cody match down the road. But whatever happens, they're setting what could be a foundation for a number of things. You mentioned it. Maybe it is Rock Cody down the road with Cody saying no to The Rock's overtures. But if Cody says yes, he's now corporate heel champion.
Yeah. So they'll go that route where he's the company man, Rock, corporate champ, basically.
Now, everybody likes The Rock, but I mean, here's my hot take. This almost killed the show for me.
I know.
I'm watching this. I'm going like, guys, this could have been done in 10 minutes less than what you're doing. Like maybe even further back than that. I mean, what are you doing?
It was all over the place.
Then I get
promo.
2 or 3 squashes because this thing maybe goes way too long.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, oh, guys, what are you doing? I wonder if this is part of the limitations of The Rock having very few dates that he can appear just because he has other things going on. And so that's something that would have been stretched out over 3 or 4 weeks, 3 or 4 shows. They got to cram it all into one night. The Rock's got to come out. He's got to get cheered. He's got to sing songs. He's got to tell people about WrestleMania 42. He's got to make his trailer trash insults that people laugh and cheer for anyway. And then he's got to call out Cody Rhodes. He's got to talk about them being best buds. Then he's got to talk about suddenly flipping it and saying, but Cody, I want more from you. And then he's got to do the weird I want your soul thing. Like, this could have been several shows.
Oh, totally. And and the entrance where he walks as slow as possible to the ring. He's high-fiving all the fans. And that's when he's face.
Yes.
Then he turns heel and he calls them, all trailer trash and they have STDs. And then he does a heel promo with Cody Rhodes, which is also kind of like face. It was a lot to take in. Let's put it like that. But I think you might be right. They're just trying to get the most out of him while he is, out there. They only have him for probably a limited amount of times. So they're like, yeah, just use him as much as possible. Oftentimes with promos, I feel less is more. But in this case, I guess Triple H thought more was more.
How did Cody Rhodes do in this to you? Because this whole thing was about The Rock and The Rock weirdly turning in the middle. The Rock was doing most of the jibber jabbering the whole time. How did Cody respond to what was going on? I thought he did well.
Yeah, he's making the faces that make sense. All the different reactions to the stuff that Rock was saying. There was some stuff I thought was kind of funny about this. Specifically, The Rock drops his Terramana tequila. Is that what it's called? Is that the name of his tequila?
Yes, I was wondering if that was his brand.
Yeah, so that's his brand of tequila, and he dropped the name twice. So for anybody that, if The Rock is good at one thing, it's just being shameless with the products that he shills. So he's shilling his tequila during this promo that's supposed to set up this huge angle.
Sure.
Because he mentions it twice.
Yes.
And Cody even says Terramanga or whatever the tequila was. He calls it by the brand name.
Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, have you tried The Rock's branded tequila? What did you think of it?
Yeah. So he's dropping the tequila, Terramana tequila name. And he also talks about the success of his movie that he just had. I don't even know the name of the movie. Number 2.
Moana 2.
Moana 2, yeah. So he's talking about that. During this, it's just like he's still pumping the stuff he's doing outside of WWE during the promo. So the advertising the product placement within his his promo, it's second to none, you know? So at the end of the day, I thought this is a lot of fun though. To see The Rock come out, it's always like a very big deal when he comes out, and I'm glad it set up an angle. One of which we just discussed. We don't know which way they're going to go because I kind of thought they would have a match. You're thinking it might be Cody heel turn. Either way, yeah. Anything else that you want to talk about with this promo?
No, I don't want our lead to go on as long as the promo.
Yes, we can't specifically talk about how long the promo was and then also have a very extended lead that's like they've been talking for 30 minutes about this 15-minute promo.
We had a wrestling show somewhere before and after this incident.
Oh, yeah. We could talk about how this affected the show, too, which I couldn't wait to talk to you about. So I'm glad you brought that up. Let's
Sure.
move on to the follow here. What
Mhm.
match should we go to for the follow? Maybe we could go with the actual main event, which is
Sure.
So we have Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu from the Bloodline versus Damian Priest and Braun Strowman. And Damian Priest and Braun Strowman pick up what I thought was a little bit of a surprise win
Mhm.
over Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Solo Sikoa takes another pin here.
Yes.
He's losing left and right almost at this point. What did you think of this matchup, Dom, in the main event here?
They teased early that Cody Rhodes was supposed to be in this as part of a 6-man tag and that Cody was being held out. And Nick Aldis said, look, it's coming to me from above if you smell what I'm cooking. So they teased The Rock early in this show. And that was the reason Cody wasn't in this. And that's why it seemed like a strange tag team match. When Solo Sikoa arrives to the arena, he thinks Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are going to be in the tag match and he's going to be in their corner. And Jacob Fatu tells him, among other things, no, it's you and me tonight. We're tagging. Tom is going to be in the corner. So they're also hinting at more tension, like all has not been forgiven in Bloodline 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
The match itself, pretty hard hitting. You were just waiting for what was going to be the weird thing at the end. Like either suddenly Jacob and Solo are going to be on the same page or something's going to happen and most likely Solo gets pinned. And that's what happened. Jacob Fatu, although this time it was Jacob who was at fault. He misses a super kick on Damian Priest and winds up hitting Solo Sikoa. Then after Damian throws him out of the ring, Braun Strowman does that train around the ring and double shoulder tackles Jacob and Tama Tonga over the announce table. Back in the ring, Damian Priest hits that sit-out choke slam on Solo for the pinfall, and then Braun Strowman staggers his way back into the ring to celebrate. It's this time. Last week it was Solo Sikoa missing the spike and hitting Tama Tonga. This week it was Jacob Fatu missing the super kick on Damian Priest and hitting Solo Sikoa. So this is a common thing they do when they're wondering if guys are going to form an allegiance or not, an alliance or not. We just saw this going into War Games. There was 1 week Sami Zayn accidentally decked Roman Reigns. The next week Roman Reigns accidentally decked Sami Zayn. And it was, can they work together? And eventually, yes, they did. So this is a common thing when they're teasing that people are having problems, is that, for some reason they trade screw ups.
Yeah, it's that's the Bloodline formula where there's always going to be the tension between them.
Yeah. This told you more about the team that lost than it did about the team that won. The team that won, they were just thrown together. Damian Priest is going on to Elimination Chamber. Braun Strowman's going on to whatever. I mean, he can do anything he wants at this point. He's a former Universal Champion. He's huge. He serves a good purpose there as a veteran and as a big guy. But this was much more about Bloodline 2.0, who winds up losing the match.
Yeah, and sorry, I had to step away. I had to turn monetization on for this video. When we go live now, it's a new thing that it defaults that the monetization's off. So I just had to flip that on YouTube. So
Hey,
apologies.
turn that on for us. There you go.
Yes. So it's a cheap little pop for us that we're now monetized. But we had our fireball last
Yes.
week about the show, so I don't want to bury this match.
No, not at all.
So
It's not like we're talking about our personal brand of tequila.
right. Yeah. Yeah,
Any
we are not.
spots from this match? I honestly did not have much other than like Solo hitting a spinning solo at one point. This was this match for me was a lot of waiting for the finish.
Yeah, they didn't give him a lot of time. There was all this. The air was sucked out of the room once Cody Rhodes and The Rock were done. I think the crowd was also like, okay, we're about done here. So the crowd's just sort of out of it. And Fatu swinging DDT. Fatu hit a swinging DDT onto the announce. Into the announce section, that little sectioned off area. He had a swinging DDT that looks really sweet. So he's still got a really intense moveset. And Jacob Fatu is a face. The crowd is cheering him. They're like, Fatu, Fatu. Like, he is over as a face, and Solo is been very over as a heel for a while now. They're being brought up at the same in a very similar style, Solo and then Fatu, but I can see I like the direction Bloodline's heading in with this specific rivalry because Fatu feels like he'll break or at least feud with the Bloodline at some point.
Are you surprised that they've gotten this much out of the Bloodline without Roman Reigns and with Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso being given other things to do?
Yeah, they don't. The other Bloodline that it's interesting that they let the other Bloodline win in War Games, and then they just disappeared.
And then win the Ulafala at the premiere of Raw on Netflix.
And then he disappears.
And they just like crumble. They break up and they're like whatever.
This group of Bloodline here is a little bit more like chumps because they are really taking a lot of losses versus the previous Bloodline with the Usos and Roman Reigns. They just were loaded with titles and they just couldn't be stopped, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I am a little surprised, and I actually like kind of from a fantasy booker standpoint, I'm a little disappointed. I feel like you probably just put the bad heel Bloodline over if they're going to be the guys that are carrying forward here, right? That are going to be on TV all the time, but.
I'm willing to take the ride. I've been pleasantly surprised that Bloodline 2.0 has had this kind of staying power without having Bloodline 1.0 as the foil.
And no Heyman, no Paul Heyman.
No Heyman, yeah.
Which I thought was the backbone of that team because he could do a lot of the talking. He could handle a lot of the storyline stuff, but they've been good without Heyman, which I think is a really kudos to Solo Sikoa. First and foremost, has been great. And then Jacob Fatu has been really exciting as well. So having those two guys has made them a reputable group.
All right, I have nothing more for that match. It was a storyline match.
I do want to call out a match here. I want to take it to a specific one.
Okay.
Only because of the spot they were in. So The Rock and Cody Rhodes do a long-winded talking segment, very long. So they go forever. Not saying it's bad. It was still really good. It still set a lot of stuff up, but it's long. Then we get DIY coming out on the mic, and I was like, DIY on the mic? Oh man, it like has to follow The Rock. Saying that WrestleMania is going to be in New Orleans and there's going to be this huge storyline shakeup. Then it's DIY coming out on the mic. So we have DIY versus Pretty Deadly. This one doesn't go too long. It's for the tag team titles, which should be a big deal, but has been pushed to the bathroom break. So they're the bathroom break slot. And there's a big interference by the Street Profits. So the match gets thrown out. Then the Motor City Machine Guns come out. I just wanted to call that one out because what did you think of this match and the position on the card?
Oh, we got about 3 minutes of TV time. They went very quickly to commercial. For the time that they were out there, everybody moved quickly and Pretty Deadly looked really good. They looked like they could do more than be a jokey team. And you're right. They were crunched for time. They sent the Street Profits out there to cause the DQ early. The Motor City Machine Guns ran down to try and neutralize the Street Profits, but the Street Profits beat them down too. So the Street Profits look good now that apparently Angelo Dawkins is back from his injury, whether it was kayfabe or not. So they look really good. This wasn't bad, but at the same time, like you're right, they were in a tough spot. And they had to move. They had to move quickly, get a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time, and they had to go. And I think this shows you, okay, these guys are professionals. They can do it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they get through the match. They get thrown out. We'll figure this out later. Moving on here. Where do you want to head next for the matches? Because we had a couple tonight.
I'm wondering if the match right before The Rock also was told, look, we need extra time, the Boston time. Just go out there and do whatever. It was supposed to be Naomi with Bianca Belair versus Liv Morgan with Raquel Rodriguez. The match never happens. The heels attack before the bell. They wind up leaving the faces down in the ring. I mean, there's a little thing later in the show where Nick Aldis says, oh, you get away with that stuff on Raw, but not on my show. Get out of here, whatever. But this looked like a match that was this what was planned the whole time? Teasing Naomi versus Liv Morgan and then just having it schmaz and no match at all?
Yeah, a little unorganized, right? With the front with the match that led into The Rock and then what we had at the tail end of The Rock.
Yep.
You probably could have had one of them be a match. And I'm going to I'll give it to you like this. I was fast forwarding through commercials and accidentally skipped this whole thing. And then I was looking through the matches and I was like, how did I miss this one?
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah. So 2-0 matches. We probably could have just had one regular match, but yeah. So another kind of toss away, squash, whatever.
A lot of storyline stuff without matches, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Where the matches, if they took place at all, got the really short end of the shift for whatever they're trying to build angles wise. Do you want to go to an actual match that took place?
And we started out pretty hot here, with the wrestling matches, right? Like before The Rock kind of wedged his way into the show and said, "I'm here. I'm gonna just do whatever I want on the SmackDown."
Mm-hmm.
So how about I kind of like this one. I'll call one out that I liked.
Sure.
L.A. Knight. Louisiana Knight, as
Yes.
R-Truth referred to him as, LA Knight and R-Truth versus Miz and Carmelo Hayes, which I think is a pretty interesting team.
Mellow don't Miz.
Mellow don't Miz. And Miz and Carmelo Hayes pick up the win.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a pretty fun match, just in general.
Yes.
This had a lot of the blend of what you're seeing in the new WWE with LA Knight being over, with Carmelo Hayes. He's been pretty solid. I'm not going to say Carmelo Hayes has been like Tiffany Stratton NXT call-up, but he's one of the better NXT call-ups we've seen, Carmelo Hayes, I feel like. And we also see a little bit of the Vince era guys that are hanging around, which is R-Truth and The Miz. And they're both actually pretty refreshing because I haven't seen them in years. So I like kind of what their gimmicks are. Specifically R-Truth. He's way over with the comedy gimmick. Like the crowd goes crazy for him.
They teased earlier in the show that The Miz was saying he and Carmelo Hayes are a tag team now, and they're going to face R-Truth and a mystery partner. And R-Truth says, I got somebody from right here in New Orleans. In fact, I think he just arrived. I'm going to get him. And I'm thinking someone from New Orleans. I'm like, this is LA Knight. He thinks LA is Louisiana. That's what this has to be. There's no way it could not be that. And so when they made the reveal and it was that, it was like, yes,
perfect.
That's exactly what it was. Wrestling wise, you mentioned guys from sort of the Vince era, The Miz and R-Truth. They've been around a long time. R-Truth's been around even longer than that. They play the joke that, John Cena was his boyhood hero. R-Truth is like 7 years older than John Cena. He's in his 50s.
He's in his 50s, and the style that he's currently wrestling and the gimmick that he has, he could do this, I feel like, until he's 60, where he just is the comedy gimmick that everyone loves, and he doesn't have to do anything.
He's in great shape, though.
Oh, totally.
He's
Amazing.
still moving around that ring. He sells well. He bumps well. He does his moves that he has to and executes them. The Miz, for as long as he's been around, he still does it really well. LA Knight's a newcomer in the WWE, but he's in his 40s now. So these are good veterans who they were in a spot that you're not usually putting this many veterans in, which is comedy, but half comedy, but some real good wrestling in this match. I had a few things that I wrote down.
Yeah, go ahead.
From a comedy standpoint, R-Truth tags in the Miz at one point, and the Miz just stares like, I'm not on your team. Because they had been recent tag team champions over on Raw together a few months ago. And then R-Truth gets knocked off the apron going to the first commercial. R-Truth hits a really good suplex stunner on Mello before each guy gets hot tags into the Miz and LA Knight. LA Knight caught Carmelo Hayes going for that chest cracker, that first 48. Then staggers into his own corner for a blind tag to R-Truth, who does the John Cena moveset, including the 5-knuckle shuffle. And then even the closing sequence, R-Truth does an STF. Miz interferes to break the hold. LA Knight gets involved, sending Miz over the top rope. And that's where Shinsuke Nakamura interferes to ambush LA Knight. And that allows a double team on R-Truth. He gets pinned by the Miz. They wound up doing something that looked like the first 48 chest cracker and the skull crushing finale that the Miz did. So a neat little double team move there. Miz winds up getting the pin on R-Truth. So even in a match like this that was entertaining, it was more just Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight stuff.
Yeah.
But I did. I like this match. I'm not going to complain about this. Everybody was really good. It went like maybe 10, 11 minutes, including a commercial break. So it's not like they were out there too long. This was fun.
The LA Knight hot tag was red hot.
Yes.
I like that a lot from it. I wrote in my notes, R-Truth, I am sports entertained by him.
Yes.
Doing the John Cena thing, doing the 5-knuckle shuffle, and having the whole crowd do the whole
you can't see
with you can't see me with him. R-Truth is awesome. I have not seen him we haven't seen him in years. Like, I mean, because we've been watching SmackDown for about 2.5 years now. So we haven't seen anything from R-Truth. We haven't watched Raw. So it's actually like what should probably maybe be a little stale for some people. For me, it's pretty fresh.
And maybe that's why they move these guys between the shows every now and then.
Yeah.
So they can get more mileage out of guys who are doing a gimmick well, but they just don't want to get stale.
Yeah, maybe we can move on to, speaking of guys they've kind of moved on from other shows that they don't want to get stale. We got Drew McIntyre, who's now had a lot of SmackDown time, and we haven't seen him before in the opener. Drew McIntyre versus Big Jim, Jimmy Uso, which I like Big Jim, actually, as a name. So Big Jim upsets Drew McIntyre, in my opinion. I was pretty surprised when I saw this. Clean as a whistle. He gets the roll-up pin. A really cool finish. He kind of Drew McIntyre is setting him up for like what looks like a variation of the Alabama Slam, and Big Jim reverses it, rolls him up, and pins him.
Yes.
Drew McIntyre throws a big fit after it. He's like, "This match doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me." Blah 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 blah. Security comes out. The whole I'm a heel thing, and he's a bad sport, so that makes him a heel.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the Alabama Slam thing. Joe Tessitore kept calling it an Alabama Slam, and the first time I saw it, which I'm surprised the match didn't end right there. Drew does this move on to Jimmy onto the ring steps to go to the first commercial. It's a face-planting Alabama Slam.
It's not an Alabama Slam. He kept calling it that, and it was like I said some variation because I was like, "This is not the Alabama Slam," but he kept calling it that. He doesn't know what any of the moves are called.
Yeah,
He's only
the guy's front facing. Rather than getting slammed on his back, he gets slammed onto his face. So
yeah.
it's just like it's you've got the guy turned around 180 degrees. You're doing kind of the motion, but like that, yeah, that's not really an Alabama slam.
Another thing, I actually want to call out the announcer too. There was a
Okay.
sidewalk slam, and I was like waiting for him to call it because I was like, "What is this move?" And usually Corey Graves just spits him right out, and he's like, "And a inverted," and he just went silent. I was like, "Huh, inverted? No, that's can't be right." And he just went quiet because he didn't know what it was called.
Was that the spine buster into the jackknife cover?
No.
Okay.
There was just a sidewalk slam. But no, I that was the good move actually. The spine buster.
Yeah, Drew stopped Jimmy's charge with a lunging headbutt, and then picked him up into an old-fashioned spine buster into a jackknife cover for a 2 count. Jimmy had a few neat moves in here, super kick, and then a spear for a 2 count. Drew does a kip up after both men are down, calls for the Claymore, but Jimmy catches him and super kicks him. Drew counters with the Glasgow Kiss headbutt, and that's what led into the finishing sequence. So there was some good timing between these two guys. They did mention that these guys have met in matches more than 30 times, I think, but this was the first time it was a one-on-one, just a singles match for these guys. So 2 old veterans. I like it. I really like that they gave Jimmy Uso the win.
Yeah,
like he pins Drew McIntyre clean in the middle of the ring here, sliding out of that second attempt at that faceplant Alabama slam tile move, and just grabbing the legs, rolling them up for the pinfall. I like that. I like that. Big Jim, as they're calling him, gets a clean victory here. Drew McIntyre maybe gets a little more of that sore loser stuff heading into Elimination Chamber. So I like it. I like the match. I like the finish. It wasn't like pay-per-view quality or anything, but it was fun for what it was. They went very quickly to a match tonight. Not a lot of opening credit stuff. So we got a match pretty darn quickly on this show, and I enjoyed everything about that.
Yeah. Big Jim getting a win. And I liked his movesets, to be honest with you. There's some little new, like, real. If we're really gonna go, I'm gonna go deep into the weeds here.
Yes, go for it.
So like he did a spear, and usually the spear, I'm always like, oh, another spear, because like every guy does the spear. But when he did the spear, he's got a variation on it where he kind of leads with his shoulder, and it's almost a cross-body spear. Like it's a spear, but it's like it's variation on it. So I was like, okay, this is cool. At least it looks a little different than you got Goldberg, Edge, Roman Reigns, Steiner's kid. He does.
Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker does the spear.
Everybody in the bloodline. All the Usos do the spear.
All the Usos do the spear. Yeah, and he at least has a variation on it, which I am a fan of. Just kind of getting yours. If you're gonna have to, everyone like, if you're doing a spot that everyone else is doing, then at least tweak it up a little bit. Another thing I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Is Drew McIntyre a tweener, or a little bit of a tweener? Because he does the 1, 2, 3 for his,
for the Claymore.
For the Claymore kick, and the whole crowd goes 1, 2, 3. A lot of his moves are super babyface moves. Like he's doing big power slams.
Yes.
That are like really cool and really fun. And that's, he's not like slowing things down, and, he's not wrestling like a heel.
The kip up is a babyface move.
Kip up's ridiculous.
Yeah. Not only is it very difficult to do it, but it's so athletic. It's very demonstrative. Like he does the kip up, his hair falls in front of his face. He has to brush it aside.
Yeah. He's like, his hair is blowing in the wind as his luscious flows are in the wind as he does the kip up. It's like, no, that's not a heel thing. This is like baby faces it gets.
He's Fabio posing for the cover of a romance novel.
But then he throws the ultimate hissy fit at the end of the match when he loses, which is like as heel as it gets, Oh, I don't even.
You're right. He's doing some babyface stuff, like the 1, 2, 3. That's kind of a babyface move. But then again, Roman Reigns, even when he was supposed to be a heel, did the same thing before his spears.
Yeah.
He would sit in the corner and he would do the ooh ah, tribal chant or whatever, like his own personal abbreviated version of a haka, and then he would do it, and like the crowd would go along with it. So there are some things that guys do that they keep doing even when they're heels that get babyface reactions. And I wonder if any of them are told, don't do that anymore. Like, do something different.
I feel like with Roman Reigns, though, when he puts the fist down and it goes, he gets boos. The crowd usually boos a little bit. They're not cheering so much. So,
I thought they were doing the ooh ah with him, so it sounded like a boo, but they were with him.
Maybe that's what it is. It sounds so much like a boo when they do it with them, or you could boo. It's either one.
Yeah, like if you're a terrible athlete, just have your name rhyme with ooh so you can't tell when people are booing you.
Right. Have your name be Boo, which is Uso.
Yes. I like this match, and I like what you're saying. Like, Drew McIntyre is playing tweener.
Yeah.
Right now.
Dom, we have some sorry, I wanted to get deep into the weeds there.
I love it. I like it.
We have some people, that are here on YouTube. We have some people on Twitch.
Very
Let
good.
us know what you guys think of the SmackDown show tonight. It really was the Rock Cody show featuring some wrestling. We do have some other matches to get through here.
Yep.
Where do you want to go
One more.
next?
It's a title match. Yes, wherever you're watching us tonight on the live stream, thank you very much. The chat is open. Tell us what your thoughts are on this show, anything we've mentioned so far, any of our takes that you agree with or disagree with. But please know, if you're watching someplace other than YouTube, we've got a lot more content for you over on YouTube. Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel on YouTube. You've got not only the archive of all of these live streams, but the shorter edited clips, John, that you make, plus those hashtag shorts that are under 60 seconds. And you can participate in the comments. You can like, you can subscribe. Please do that. We just hit 1,000 subscribers. Help us climb our next mountain. Do I hear 1,050, 1,060? Do I hear the next 100? Be part of our next journey up the next mountain at Don't Bury the Lead.
That's right, Dom. We did hit 1,000 subscribers, and we do get a little bit of that YouTube money. The pennies are trickling in.
One of these days, right? A few of them old Abe Lincolns are going to add up.
Yeah, the pennies are trickling in, even though pennies are no longer a thing. But yes, they are trickling in. Dom, can you your mic's kind of
I got you. What's
there
up?
you go. Got it. Perfect. All right. So our last match here is Tiffany Stratton versus Candice LeRae.
Mm-hmm.
No surprise, as Tiffany Stratton takes care of little old Candice LeRae. This was a pretty good matchup here. And Dom, what did you think of this one? Tiffany Stratton versus Candice LeRae.
Another match where you had more stuff happening than the match looked like it took a back seat. Nia Jax coming out with Candice LeRae, teasing that they were both going to just ambush Tiffany Stratton and not even let the match start. Referee stepped in. They did manage to start the match during a commercial. Charlotte Flair's music hits to distract Tiffany Stratton. Looked like Tiffany Stratton could have entered the match earlier, but Charlotte Flair comes out, walks slowly to ringside, joins commentary for the last couple of minutes of this match. And then after Tiffany Stratton finally hits her top turn moonsault for a pinfall, a match went about 6.5 minutes of TV time plus a commercial and a half. So maybe it was around the 12-minute mark or so. There's a beatdown from Nia and Candice on Tiffany Stratton. Charlotte Flair, of course, is not helping. She's a heel. But it's Trish Stratus who runs down to save Tiffany from the 2-on-1 beatdown. They've already announced that there's going to be a big match at Elimination Chamber, Trish and Tiff versus Nia and Candice. But Nia and Candice wound up getting the edge on Trish as well, Nia hits the Annihilator on both Trish and Tiffany Stratton, who were stacked up on top of each other. The heels leave the ring. Charlotte Flair enters the ring to gloat over a fallen Tiffany Stratton. So again, we got a match that was there almost as filler for all of the extracurricular activity.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was a little bit of filler. I don't have a ton to say about this. The only thing I really have is there was a drop kick by Tiffany that was super stiff that I loved. And because I think Tiffany really lays it in sometimes, and it just really adds to her character. I just like when wrestlers lay it in. And there was a swanton by Tiffany Stratton that looked rough because she hit. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. She does the swanton, but it looks like she just lands right on the top of her head, and then she gets over, but it looks like she took a head bump almost.
She turns very late.
Late, exactly. Yeah, which is weird because she's an excellent gymnast.
Yeah,
so that should be no problem for her, but something went south.
I wonder if she does that on purpose because she knows how to do the quick turn at the end. So she's trying to make it look more dramatic. But yeah, she's done that before where it's looked like, oh my goodness, that was a late turn.
It felt like he was cutting it close, but but it was close to a point where I could see that maybe she could have gotten her head tucked just in the nick of time. But, ideally, when you're taking any sort of bump, and just from my perspective, I would never do a swanton off the top rope. So that was not my style, but you want to get as much body surface to take the initial bump as possible in like the safest way. That's why the people do the back bump. You don't want to like take the immediate blow at the top of your head and then roll over. I know it's rather obvious, but I wanted to call that out because, you would, even if you land directly on an elbow, it's killer because all of the force of your fall hits the elbow. When really you want to spread it across as much of your body as possible.
We talked about that the last time we did this when Tiffany Stratton taking a Samoan drop from Nia Jax put her elbow out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's a way to dislocate a shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she works stiff and she does some bumps that look like they're overly risky. I wonder if it's still some green quality to her that she's just not polished enough.
Yeah, there was that tonight where she isn't like perfect just yet, but also maybe that is part of the high risk skill set that she has and move set that she has that's gotten her there. That is part of like it could be a little. I could see her getting dinged up at some point.
We did have an actual Alabama slam in this match. After Candice avoided a top turn swanton and got a 2 count on Tiffany. Tiffany avoided the springboard moonsault, countered with a fireman's carry roll slam, went up for her own that moonsault. Nia pulled Candice out of harm's way, but then Tiffany Stratton attacked Nia on the floor, and then Alabama slams Candice into the barricade.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of action there, and and the whole time Charlotte Flair did not get involved. She's just watching. She's just like the vulture, just waiting for the carcass. So Charlotte Flair doing the good job there. I didn't have anything else spot-wise from the match to call out. Lots of action. Candice LeRae, very serviceable as a veteran in there. And Trish Stratus, she was a surprise being there. And they did announce that she'll be back in Toronto for Elimination Chamber. She is getting up there in age. She's got to be 49 or 50, close to it.
She looks great. That's crazy.
For a female athlete is older than for a male athlete.
Yeah. Right.
So like it's more impressive that she's still in the shape she's in at 50 than say like R-Truth being in his early 50s. Like I think it's more impressive that Trish can still go.
Oh, totally. And she could go. And she really didn't come in to the WWE as a wrestler per se. She was more like the swimsuit model
Mhm.
that was like, oh wait, she's a pretty damn good athlete, and ended up being a good wrestler. And then when she initially came in, she was just a model.
None of the
So
women were really showcased as athletes back then, right? Even though Trish Stratus, I'm told, has a background as a fitness expert and a coach like that. So she had the ability always to do it. But like you're saying, like none of the women back then were featured really as athletes the way they are now.
yeah, and she had a really good cage match against Becky Lynch, if you can remember
Yes.
that one, when
Yep.
she took the crazy bump off the top of the cage at 48-year-old woman off the top of the cage. So anyways, so that is SmackDown. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, video package for Alexa Bliss. She seems to be good on the mic and as a character. Some Bray Wyatt aura going on there. Other things backstage happening that we haven't mentioned yet. Kevin Owens. A video of Kevin Owens, because they showed what happened on Raw with Sami Zayn asking for a match at Elimination Chamber against Kevin Owens, the two Canadians fighting in Toronto.
Yeah.
And Adam Pearce gave it to him, but it's unsanctioned because Sami Zayn has not been cleared to wrestle. So Kevin Owens responds with a video promo that he's cutting outside of Sami Zayn's home. And you don't know that right away. You think maybe it's Kevin Owens in his rental car again, which is his shtick. But no, it's Kevin Owens, and then he turns his phone to show through the windows of this front door, and it's Sami Zayn's house. And there's Sami Zayn's wife and his young son, and they're like playing, coloring at a table somewhere. And then Sami walks over to both of them, and it's just like they're oblivious to the fact that Kevin Owens is right outside their door filming this promo about how he's going to destroy Sami Zayn and make it so that Sami can't provide for his family anymore. They're going to lose their house. They're going to starve. So Kevin Owens, not a tweener.
Not at all.
Kevin Owens going full heel.
No, there's no questions asked about what he's doing from his rental car.
Yes. Although this time from creepily loitering outside of Sami Zayn's house.
All right, Dom. Anything else from this SmackDown, or is it drive
think anything
time?
major? There were a few other things like it looked a little campy between Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes, like backstage, really orchestrated, spontaneous meeting between the two. Where they could each kind of just blow smoke at each other about, hey, last WrestleMania we both walked out champions.
Right.
But then Braun Strowman came over after Cody Rhodes walked off. Some of that stuff seems a little too forced. It's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're trying to do more of that stuff. They're trying to do more of that well-produced backstage stuff that has the guys speaking and developing angles and developing their rivalries on their own without it being a formal interview format. So I like that they're trying it. That one just, I mean, it didn't seem to work very well. It looked a little too campy, but it was there. Other than that, I think we caught everything that they tried to ram down our throats in 3 hours.
Yeah. So I think it's time for the thumb drive.
Yes, it's time for our drive on our road to just summing up this entire wrestling program we watched into a simple thumb up or thumb down. There are no ties. There are also no star ratings, no letter ratings, no number grades. You are taking this course. Pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. No, we don't give star ratings. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 2 stars at the AT&T Center. No. We don't do stars. We just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So, Dom, are you ready?
I am ready, my friend.
3, 2, 1. Oh! Oh, wow. We both give 2 thumbs down for a Rock Smackdown.
This is
Dom.
2 weeks in a row for me, but I think you gave it a slight thumbs up last week. What turned you this week to saying this show was worse than last week's show, even though it had The Rock on it?
Last week's show was I was very close. I was like thumbs up. And I was going to say, hey, this is going to be a thumbs up because The Rock was on it. But I feel like The Rock promo went 20 minutes and it could have been like 5 minutes or 7 minutes and had such a greater impact. There's all kinds of stuff I had problems with. Is he a heel or is he a face? He comes out and says, oh, WrestleMania is going to be here in New Orleans. Yay. Cody Rhodes, I need your soul. Boo. It's like he's got to pick a lane. He's it's like he's got multiple personalities up there.
Yes.
Why don't you have Cody Rhodes announce New Orleans? Hey, New Orleans, you're gonna have WrestleMania. Yay! Yeah, we do love you, Cody. Oh, I'm The Rock. I'm the heel. I come down.
Mm-hmm. And then The Rock interrupts him. That would have been more of a heel move, or at least it would have been suspicious, right?
Yeah, it seems like he's shifting in between what his heel persona is on the screen, while also just constantly breaking kayfabe and being the Dwayne Johnson, the director of the company, or some sort of board member of the company.
Mm-hmm. He's not on these programs often enough to do this kind of complexity.
Right?
Right? These are things that need to build over several weeks, and he's doing them all at once, and it just comes off as a little too confusing. I gave this show a thumbs down because there were just too many times where I went, oh. Like, so the match wasn't important after all. Oh, so they just another schmaz. Oh, can you guys wrap it up?
Yeah.
There were just too many times where I was taking the ride with them, and then I went,
I would have rather had just random guys, no storyline, wrestle each other than what a lot of the stuff I was seeing tonight, which was just like basically schmazes as a result to forward storyline stuff. Specifically DIY and
Pretty Deadly.
That should be a big match. They've been building it. That should be a big match.
I want to see it.
I want to see this match.
Yeah.
I get Tiffany Stratton, Candice LeRae a little bit more because I don't think Tiffany Stratton can lose it. But I feel like Pretty Deadly's going to get the belt off DIY, or they have a shot to, and I like Pretty Deadly.
Yeah, so, that one's got some intrigue to it. I like it.
Why not?
2 weeks in a row that LA Knight could not save the show for me.
Yeah, but he had that.
If anybody could, though, it's him. It's Louisiana Knight.
Louisiana Knight with R-Truth comedy stuff was gold.
Yeah.
Gold. But and The Miz and Mello, that was the only thing that was really promising on the show. The rest was just not that good, and it was just like get through it. So yeah, we gave it 2 thumbs down on a show with The Rock. Wow, who would have thought? And listen, Tom, our thumbs up to thumbs down ratio is ridiculous. We usually are thumbs up here.
Yeah.
Rarely.
We're fans, and we like to be entertained, or as you say, sometimes sports entertained. And the WWE, I mean, they're the number one wrestling promotion for a reason. They usually put out pretty entertaining stuff. So yes, the tendency would be for us to enjoy what we watched. But I mean, just to be honest about what we're seeing, this one was kind of a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah. I do want to just, for the folks out there watching us, when they see us give the thumbs down, I think there's a lot of people on the internet, far too many, that hate watch the show and then just want to trash it the whole time. And that's really not our gimmick, but we do have to trash it when we need to. And typically, if it's 50-50, we go thumbs up. We typically like the show enough that we go thumbs up, but this one stood out as a bad show. So interesting. Dom, as we kept talking through, I didn't know which direction we're going to go. And as we recapped it more and more, I was like, oh, this show sucked, huh?
Hey, well, it happens. But a good call out for you. Yes, we are not the kind of people who are just looking for reasons to hate watch something. But it happened for us.
Yeah.
We were not doing it as cheap heat, were we?
Dom, we weren't trying to get the cheap pops and the cheap heat there when we're talking about the SmackDown show. That's something, and we save for this segment here
Yes.
coming up, which is cheap heat. I'm going to go ahead and share your screen, Dom, and we can
There we
walk
go.
through it.
Let's start with something that maybe some people will pop for and some people go, oh, why are they back? This, I think, we'll see how many of our viewers have a little bit of nostalgia to them, a little bit of history with WWE and wrestling. How big of a story is it that the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, are back on WWE programming next week? They've been announced for WWE NXT, not only by WrestleOps here on X, but Triple H made it a point to talk about this. Two men who have redefined tag team wrestling for over 25 years. The Hardy Boys have reached the pinnacle of our industry and often jumped off of it, to the amazement of fans worldwide, and they return to a WWE ring next week on WWE NXT in Cincinnati. So WWE is full on behind Jeff and Matt Hardy being on their programming again. Now it's part of this TNA arrangement that they have, but how big of a story is this? Am I making too much out of it, or are there other people out there who remember Jeff and Matt Hardy from years ago and are going, oh, wow, they're actually back on WWE programming?
Yeah, I mean, they've had big returns in the past, and people were really into them when they came back the one time. And then they got rid of them both because Matt went to AEW. Jeff stayed with WWE and kept wrestling. And then eventually Jeff got fired for substance abuse stuff. Then he went to AEW. He's wrestling there. Jeff got he was on their roster, but they eventually kind of like got rid of him. But he had a DUI while he was with AEW. So a lot of this is probably along the lines of they can't give Jeff too much to do because of his history, unfortunately. So maybe they just put him in NXT. Hopefully, his head's in the right place. He could stand up straight, and if he can, then this will be a cool thing for them to have on NXT.
They are currently in TNA, and they are the tag team champs, Jeff and Matt Hardy there. They were also in TNA years ago, not only teaming, but sometimes as rivals. Matt Hardy had a great run there as this, I think, sort of a forerunner to what Bray Wyatt became in the WWE.
Yeah,
when Matt Hardy was a broken Matt Hardy, and
that stuff was great. Broken Matt Hardy
right?
was so good.
Yeah, so they've had a long and varied career, not doing the same stuff over and over again. I wonder how much of this will be nostalgia and throwback, and how much of it will be what do these guys still have left in the tank, and how different are they? If the WWE is excited about this, then I'm all for it. Give them a shot. I don't have much of a history with the Hardys, but if you are out there and have a bigger history with the Hardys, tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, what do you think about the Hardys back in WWE programming, albeit on NXT? But hey, I mean, they make a big deal out of NXT. It's not a throwaway show for them.
Yeah, I love the broken Matt Hardy stuff. Did you ever watch any of those videos with him?
I did watch some of it. Yes,
it was so hilarious and goofy.
yes.
But
delete.
Yes, that stuff was good. But then Jeff Hardy, wasn't he in TNA against Sting? And that was the match where Sting had to roll him right up.
Yes, he had a substance problem at a pay-per-view. Yes, it was a very infamous TNA pay-per-view. I forget which one it was called, but yes. But Jeff Hardy was their world champ on more than one occasion. He got a pretty good push in TNA in the aughts, as they say, the 2000s there. And to his credit and Matt Hardy's credit, they've both hung around. It was during, I think, the Billy Corgan era of TNA when They each did that broken Matt Hardy, Brother Nero stuff.
Yeah.
And they wound up having this a cinematic style match that the WWE wound up copying later for Undertaker versus AJ Styles in
really
2020. That style of match, that cinematic type of match. So these guys have been at the forefront of a lot of new stuff that eventually you can see echoes of in modern stuff that WWE has done.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Brother Nero,
Yes.
I knew you'd come. in that cinematic match where they did at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff's just playing the guitar and the drone comes flying in. And then he's talking from the drone with his space head. And Jeff's like, "What the hell?" And he's swinging the guitar at the drone. It's pretty good stuff.
And from the mind of Billy Corgan and perhaps the Hardys as well.
Yeah.
Up next, more WWE stuff. We've talked about the road to WrestleMania. Big news on a European tour that's going to be part of the road to WrestleMania. Trying to get more mileage out of this. This was very entertaining when they did it for months. Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan announced for several clashes on the European tour. 4 of them in March. Going through, it looks like Germany and then Amsterdam in the Netherlands there. And of course, John Cena, this comes to us from WrestleZone, announced for multiple Raw tapings during the European tour in March. So a big deal going to Europe for that last month and a half or so before WrestleMania, after Elimination Chamber, and then before WrestleMania. So that 7-week period when they don't have a premium live event, don't have a pay-per-view. Big European tour. What say you about the WWE going to Europe in order to promote WrestleMania and making it such a big part of the road to WrestleMania and the big stars they've announced for it already? Like they are making no bones about it. Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, which was maybe the feud of the year over on Raw, and then John Cena on his retirement tour. It seems like they're throwing everything they can at this European tour.
It makes sense because look at the fans and the draw in Europe that they've had when they have shows there, whether it's in France, whether it's in Germany. Quite frankly, everywhere they have gone, they've been, well, maybe like Saudi Arabia is coming around, but it was kind of dead there for a little bit. Puerto Rico was amazing, but unfortunately, Puerto Rico, I don't think it's a big money draw for them.
Not
unfortunately.
a big gate. Yes.
It's just not a big gate. Although the fans were awesome, and we love their fans. Puerto Rico was probably my favorite foreign show.
Right, that was a lot of fun.
They were great. So after seeing stuff like this, it's no surprise, right, that they would really push the UK or Europe.
Mm-hmm. John Cena, you wonder if he will be on this European tour as the winner of Elimination Chamber, as someone who's getting to call his shot for WrestleMania, or if he's just going to be there as part of the retirement tour. One way or the other, he's a big draw. Have you liked having John Cena back?
Yeah.
From what you've seen so far of the retirement tour?
Yeah, I mean, he went away for long enough that when he comes back now, he's special. Years ago, a lot of people would complain about him because he was just like the forever champ, and they would say, "Let's go Cena. Cena sucks," and they're like, "Never turn him heel." But he eventually just went away, and when he went away and now came back, I like him again.
I like it too. I like what he's doing. Apparently, he's going to be in Brussels, Belgium. He'll be in Glasgow, Scotland, and then London, England at the O2 Arena. So he's been announced for 3 of them and in 3 different countries. So fans are good. Fans from all over the world, from many different places, are going to get their chance to see John Cena one last time here.
Yep.
I think this is fun as well. Let's move over to AEW. They also went overseas to Australia from the Train Makers here, citing some information we got from WrestleNomics. AEW's Grand Slam from Australia that aired from 10:52 to 12:56 a.m. Saturday night on TNT drew 502,000 viewers. I guess this is on average with an 021 demo. the best Collision ratings in month. You mentioned this, that it was after, was this part of NBA All-Star Weekend?
Yeah. So
And
the
this was
NBA
right after
All-Star
it.
game ended, and then they went live with this.
First 8 minutes even hit the 1 million mark in the opening tag match. That could be that's kind of a good news, bad news thing. If you start out at million and your average is half of that, that means somewhere along the way you lost more than half of your viewers.
Yeah, I think they got 1 million just coming in from the NBA All-Star game that didn't flip the switch yet, didn't flip the channel. 1 million's, I think their highest was their first show ever was around 600,000. So for
Okay.
them to hit 1 million, even if it just started, that's really good. And then to see that they hit 500,000, 600,000 was their biggest show ever, and that was with when they started with CM Punk and everything.
Is
So
this still picture here? Was this the opening match? Will
Yeah.
Ospreay and Kenny Omega versus Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher.
yeah,
Okay,
I watched
that'll
this
do
show.
it for you. If you want to kick off with some viewers, that'll do. I mean, for AEW, that's their style, and those are their A-listers, right?
For sure, Kenny Omega and Kyle O'Reilly, or excuse me, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay are really big. The other two, maybe a little less known, probably from like WWE fans and pro wrestling fans in general, are well on their way to being big guys.
Big size.
They actually have, at times, a better men's roster than the WWE.
Yeah, it looked like John Moxley was on this show, as was Adam Copeland.
This was a really good show. Tony Storm versus Mariah May in the main here. This was excellent. Tony, have you seen any Tony Storm stuff?
One of the pay-per-views we watched. She seems impressive, though.
Yeah,
they seem to have a women's roster that is also pretty athletic and can wrestle.
Yeah, not as good as the WWE's, but it's getting there. They're starting to hire like Mercedes Moné, who can go. A lot of people, I don't know why she gets trashed on the internet, but she can go. She was beating the hell out of this girl, giving her all kinds of receipts during the match. Even the announcer said, and Mercedes gives her a receipt there. He just said it. He said it was a receipt because
little inside wrestling for you there.
Yeah, exactly. It was inside wrestling. He was saying the terms. She was just beating the hell out of her toward the middle of the match because I think basically she was just a little slow with some stuff. It was kind of like they were doing, I don't know. She was kind of taking her good old time with some of the spots. So
that was Harley Cameron here?
Yeah, Harley Cameron. So then once Mercedes got in the driver's seat, she really started stiffing the hell out of her. And it was good stuff. This match at the bottom right here, Buddy Matthews versus Okada.
Yes.
Buddy Matthews, you know who that is?
Yes, it's Rhea Ripley's real life husband. He injured his ankle in his warm up, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So that was a good one with Buddy Matthews and Okada. Okada's excellent. So yeah, it was a good show. I was impressed, and it was a full stadium of like 30 to 35,000 people, which is usually pretty good for them.
That makes sense because Tony Khan was here talking with on the Wrestle HQ X account that the second biggest international gate in company history, and some people were kind of dogging on them. They're like, "Oh, what? You've only done London. That's it." And some people came in to say they've done Wales, they've done England, they've done Canada, Japan, now Australia. They've done more than one in Japan. Perhaps more than one in Canada. So, it's not like this is only their second one and it's second out of two. I mean, to be their second biggest gate and second to Wembley Stadium, that's nothing to sneeze at. So,
and that means they've been bigger than any of the Canadian shows, which they do a lot of. So,
right, bigger than Japan.
Yeah.
So this good for AEW. Good to see. And you watched the show and you were impressed. Like this was a good show to watch.
Definitely. It's on, and the thing is tough to tell with the ratings. They're almost so tough to tell because all their shows are now live on HBO Max, the app. So who knows who is watching on the TV versus who is watching on the app? Like they got to find a way to the
total viewers.
The WrestleNomics has to figure out how to get the
yes.
They have to figure out how to get the viewers on HBO Max, or what you're right now calculating is incomplete. It's not a reasonable number to understand.
Music went through this decades ago when digital downloads became a thing.
Oh
and
yeah.
then streaming after that. And so like Billboard, they would always chart what the top selling singles and albums were of each week. And it was like, okay, how do we do that now when buying is different? So how do you figure out how many viewers you have when viewership is now taking place across different platforms
Mhm.
and in different, slightly different media here and there? So yeah,
I
something
came
to
up.
keep in mind. I'm sure the people whose jobs depend on this stuff are all over it. Whether
Yeah,
or not they let us peasants in on the action is another story. But
they're keeping it close to the cuff for sure. But
close to the vest, trade secrets.
mhm.
From comingsoon.net, let's do some Undertaker stuff here. Undertaker, since he's been done wrestling, he's become sort of a new media darling. Between his own podcast and other podcasts and doing some promotional stuff for the WWE. He was doing some big stuff over in Saudi Arabia last year at the opening of the big facility there. The Undertaker shares what has changed in CM Punk since his WWE return. Undertaker speaking on Busted Open Radio with Bully Ray, another guy who's become a very big personality on new media, saying absolutely he's mature. Speaking of CM Punk, he's actually very pleasant to be around. Before he left the first time, he was very aloof. He could be somewhat combative, and again, one of those guys who wants to fight for every hill, but not always in a good way. But my experience with him since he's come back have been different. He's so personable and engaging. It's like a different guy. It's like a weight, I guess, has been lifted off of him. I don't know his personal struggles or anything like that, and that's not my deal. If CM Punk is just doing better in life overall, good for him. Celebration, applaud for Phil Brooks and what's going on. And if it means that his coworkers are now happier to have to deal with him, then good for everybody else as well. What do you make of the Undertaker saying this means something different than somebody else saying it, right?
Yeah. So two things. I think if he found some mental clarity, got some, and starting to figure things out with what was wrong with him in WWE before and then late AEW. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, AEW did all this wrong, WWE did all this wrong. No, it was him, right? So let's not. I know the Punk fans might come at me in the comments, but yeah, he was an idiot in AEW. He was an idiot in WWE.
Bring it on, Punk fans. We can take it.
I could tell you guys.
Don't bury the lead. Get at us in the comments there. We can take it. Make sure you subscribe while you're there.
Make sure you subscribe and like. No, but at the end of the day, I'm a human. He's a human. Like I'm rooting for him. I would love to see him kind of get through this part of his life where he was really competitive. He's back and forth with wrestling. So he had 2 interviews where he said wrestling's fake. Blah 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 blah. Like he was going nuts. But
that's my line. No, wait, NASCAR's fake. Pro wrestling is real.
Your line is yes, exactly. NASCAR
democracy is fake. Pro wrestling is real.
Yes, democracy's fake. Pro wrestling's real. That's a short. So, it'd be great to see him get to that point, right, where he's like, it clicks in his head, like, you know what, maybe I should look in the mirror a little bit and try to be a better person. I am a little surprised because there hasn't been too much flare up, but he's only been there for about a year. I am a little bit skeptical of what Undertaker is saying, only because the Undertaker is the ultimate company man, and he wouldn't bury anyone that wasn't, like if he was messing up a little bit, I don't think he'd be the guy to go in a podcast and bury him. So
yeah, Undertaker has been. He's a homer. I think he appreciated all that WWE did. He was one of the guys who was able to separate Vince the businessman as a wrestling creative versus Vince the businessman behind the scenes, who was horrible to some of his employees, very much because Undertaker realized how grateful he had to be to Vince McMahon, the creative.
Yeah. Not to say
Mark
that
Calloway, yes.
Undertaker's not a great guy. He's a nice guy and he's a great guy, but in that, I think he's also a little politically savvy, where he's not telling the truth all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's not going to mess up his whole career
No.
for this, this interview.
Yep.
Right?
He's got a bias, but that doesn't mean that what he's saying doesn't have a considerable portion of truth in it. Speaking of The Undertaker, big interview, long interview here, written out from Bleacher Report. I'll let you guys go find that, search for it. Undertaker interview at Bleacher Report from February 19th, 2025, if you want to read the whole thing. Goes all over the place. He's got clips to some video portions in here. I wanted to go way back to the bottom here, where he starts talking about why Taker is no fan of the internet. We probably have the greatest fan base there is, but I think they got put over so much that they actually believe they are the decision makers. Obviously, we want to make our fans happy, but like the other night when CM Punk didn't win the Royal Rumble, people lost their ever-loving minds. When Jay went over, they can't believe it because they cried for it for so long. Punk's got to win the Rumble. We got to get through Elimination Chamber, so I guess he was asked about maybe the WWE audience, especially after last year's WrestleMania, where the crowd, the audience, WWE Universe was credited with bringing that main event of WrestleMania together. Mm-hmm. Like the boys in the back had discussed something else for months, and then the crowd reaction got them to tweak it and do something else.
Yeah.
Whether that was kayfabe or not, I don't know, but maybe enough people from in the fan base got a hold of that and like, oh yeah, we have a lot of pull around here. And Undertaker's trying to tell him like, hey, slow your roll a little bit.
Yeah.
He's not really going after the IWC for being so negative. It's almost the opposite. He's going after the people who are so involved in the product that they think they're shaping it maybe a little more than they are. What do you think? I mean, it certainly looks like the fans have some role. I mean, you can't be a successful company that pays no attention to your customer base, right?
No, you absolutely have to listen to them. And I think it's something that Vince got wrong for so many years, and that's why AEW exists, because AEW saw the holes and was like, we're going to pay attention to you. And now it's kind of funny because people are saying that AEW isn't listening to the fans. so it just goes full circle. And they're like, oh, they got to be doing this with their storyline. I don't know. I don't get why they're doing this. I don't get this. And, so it's funny that it goes full circle. Tony was the guy that was giving the fans what they wanted. And now Triple H is giving what the fans they wanted. And Tony is a jerk, He's
right.
Yeah.
Closing quote here from the article from Mark Calloway. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's what social media does. But don't try and book the shows. Part of the lore of social media is giving your opinion, but it comes with such hate and vitriol. They start ragging on Paul Levesque, Triple H, the man with 3 H's, who has occasionally visited us here in the chat. He doesn't know what he's doing. Get Vince back. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
No, I appreciate the way he put that, honestly, because there's on the social media platform. I mean, hey, it is what it is, right? The social media platforms have so much negativity on them that one little thing is incorrect or the way that someone doesn't like it, and they jump all over it. Say they do a bad segment, everyone jumps all over it then. So it's got to be really difficult as a pro wrestler today to have all those comments and just to see the certain comments that stick out and really ruin you. I think specifically of Mercedes Moné, who I feel like has had a really good run in AEW, but for some reason there's just a group of people out there that are like, we don't like her. She's getting paid too much money. She shouldn't have left. I don't know. I don't know what their problem is, but they don't like her. And they write nasty things about her all the time. So it's strange.
Sit back and enjoy the ride, says the progenitor of the last ride.
Yeah.
Heading on over, per PW Insider, Road Dogg Brian James has been named the new co-lead writer of SmackDown, and the comment here was, "We are cooked." People not liking that he's going to be part of creative. AJ Styles came to his defense, though, quote tweeting this here: "Before judging this guy from his past performance as the head writer, just know there was a man who picked it apart to the point that it was no longer his ideas anymore."
I like the little
Defending Brian
emoticon.
James here, and having to criticize the Vince McMahon regime in doing it. AJ Styles, trying to be politically savvy here while also trying to be fair to Brian James. Because I'll throw this out to you. Is it fair to evaluate people who really were under the thumb of Vince McMahon
No,
for
of
so
course not.
long? I mean, but basically you're evaluating them as to how well they just did what Vince wanted whenever Vince wanted it. Now you have to evaluate them for something different. To that point, I will say that Michael Cole has been perhaps the most fascinating person in WWE, because when he was under Vince, he was that guy who did whatever Vince wanted, changed at a moment's notice, allowed Vince to scream in his ear during live shows as he's trying to call the action. And then when Vince left, we've seen what Michael Cole is capable of just on his own with his talent. And it turns out that he can be a corporate lackey if he has to, but he also has some ability.
Yeah. During the Vince era, Michael Cole was a big problem. You know, the crowd. I mean, people really didn't think too highly of him. He was at least at best average. And now that Vince is gone, he has become a very good announcer. You know, in my opinion, I think he's really good.
I think so too. I've enjoyed him.
Yeah. And there was a time when I didn't enjoy him. So it's like he changed. So I think it's possible with the Road Dogg. And it's funny, we talked about this in the last segment. You got some guy saying this, Elite Rocker Z or X, just saying this, and AJ Styles just is like, yo, shut up. Also, he was working under Vince. I was surprised to see, who is this guy?
He's got 36,500 followers.
Yeah,
so Elite Rockers, SOB, Elite Club SOB, whatever he is, he's got some sort of a following. He may be involved behind the scenes in indie wrestling at some point. So he wasn't just some rando. But, you know, good to see AJ Styles sticking up for the brand and for Brian James.
Yeah, I do have to say, I was surprised to see AJ bury Vince. But he just did. He just went ahead and did. He didn't say Vince McMahon. Just know that there was a man who picked it apart. A man.
Who picked it apart to the point that it was no longer his ideas anymore.
Yeah. Surprised to see him bury Vince, but we know who the man is. We know who you're talking about, AJ.
Oh, there was a man who picked it apart. I wonder who that could be. Could be anybody, right?
Anybody.
Over to Sooners Wire. Son of WWE legend joins Oklahoma football as a walk-on. Jacob Henry, it's kind of a feel-good story. Son of WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry. He was a 3-sport prospect in 2024 recruiting class, but it was for the Oklahoma wrestling team. He joined the Oklahoma wrestling team on a scholarship. He is now trying to be a walk-on as a defensive tackle at the University of Oklahoma. Great athletes. Mark Henry, of course, a legit powerlifting Olympic-level athlete. So not unusual to see that his son here also got some of those genes and perhaps some of that work ethic. Jacob Henry, what do you think of somebody going out for being a wrestler and a scholarship-earning collegiate wrestler saying, I'm also going to try football? Multiple sports stars are rare in Division I collegiate level. But you'll see that in high school, like the 3-sport star, because that guy's just good at everything. And every season he can go dominate something.
So he's going to do football and wrestling. He's going to do 2 sports.
Maybe.
I've seen it. Let's say, for example, here, Donovan McNabb was a quarterback for the Eagles.
Mhm.
He played on the football team and the basketball team at Syracuse.
Okay.
But basketball is a little bit different. I will have to say this, with wrestling and football, you can get a lot better at football by wrestling because you start to learn the angles and how to take people down.
Okay. Because he's
a lot of-
playing defensive tackle.
Yeah, so he's going to be a huge hoss wrestler, heavyweight, and a DT. That's only going to make him better. A lot of the Buffalo Bills. So the Buffalo Bills head coach was a really good wrestler, like a collegiate wrestler, and the Bills are a good team. And he drafts a lot of guys with wrestling backgrounds because he knows that that's a great transferable skill in football because you learn how to like really. First of all, you learn how to work out like a maniac in wrestling, but then you also learn how to move people's bodies around, and you learn how to like take people down. Like they have no problem tackling people if you're a wrestler. You tackle people all the time.
Oh, working in the trenches, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Yeah, I think that one of the problems is with football season being longer and longer in college now. It goes into the second week of January, or this year it was all the way to the third week of January. That's going to make it more difficult to get over to, if your team is fortunate enough to advance to maybe the playoffs, that's going to make it tough to get on over to your winter sport before it's over. I can see a guy doing a fall sport and a spring sport, like doing football and then doing spring track and field.
Yeah. Well, they're making the football season so damn long.
Yes.
It was what college sports was supposed to be to what it's turned into is like madness, right?
Yeah, but all best to Jacob Henry. If I like your insights in this from being a competitive wrestler yourself at the high school level. That's a good nugget there. Tell us in the comments, what do you think of that insight there? Had you ever thought about the connection between competitive freestyle or Greco-Roman wrestling, amateur wrestling, and being able to move people around, especially if you're part of that front seven in football?
Mm-hmm.
One more here from WrestleZone, transcribing an interview that Karrion Kross was on. We like these, your bar fight stuff. Karrion Kross reveals one guy he'd want by his side in a bar fight. So it wasn't like your pick your 4, your Mount Rushmore or anything. Like you get a whole gang together. One guy you'd want in a bar fight, and it's somebody that he was in a program with, I think, recently. He chose Chad Gable.
Oh.
Chad Gable, Karrion Kross said. So he's got an amateur background. He's 100% legit. He's won nationals and state and gold medal and stuff like that. He transitioned into pro wrestling. I would say him because he's a lunatic. He's the guy who will Mark Kerr somebody. He'll stick his chin in the guy's eyeball. He's definitely one of those people. He's very calm. He's very chill, as you'd expect from somebody who's like a master level grappler. I would go with him. So he's like, very zen until the time comes to, as he says, go all Mark Kerr on somebody, stick your chin in the guy's eyeball.
Chin to eyeball is brutal.
Right. I would say him because he's a lunatic. What say you about Chad Gable? We've been impressed with how legit he looks when he's in the ring. Like he tosses bigger guys around that ring.
He has the best German suplex that I've seen, and that includes Brock Lesnar. Yeah. When he gets him, and he can just the way he can extend his back and take the guy down because he's so hyper flexible.
Yes.
It looks so cool, and he's just so strong. He has like no problem getting him over. It's not like they have to jump with him, right? It's like, no, he just tosses them.
I was going to say, pound for pound, he may be the strongest guy in the WWE. He's got that low center of gravity, a lot of great balance. And so like you're saying, a lot of times on that German suplex, he can get under the other guy's hip level.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other guy doesn't have to help as much getting over. Chad Gable, yeah, he looks every bit the athlete. Are you surprised that a guy with that legit kind of athletic ability has been, I don't want to say stuck because maybe he enjoys it, but he's been almost typecast as the semi-comedy guy for years and years and years?
Vince named him Shorty G at one point, and this might be the
Gosh.
problem. They used to call him Shorty G.
Oh no.
And he really hasn't come back from that. And it just is the height thing, It's the height thing. He's not tall enough.
Yeah.
If he was 6 inches taller, he'd be a world champ,
Right.
And
okay, well, but maybe with a guy like Cody Rhodes, who's maybe not that tall, having such a successful and lucrative, as far as moving merch, title reign as Cody Rhodes has had, maybe that says that we could go back to the era, or at least include more of these tremendous athletes into the mix every now and then in some sort of title picture.
yeah.
Or maybe he wins the Intercontinental belt at some point, or a U.S. title. Doesn't have to be world champ at some point, but yeah, I'd like to see more from Chad Gable. I'm with Karrion Kross. He has always looked like a guy who was, as he says here, 100% legit.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that wasn't the cheapest heat there to end it. Perhaps that was a cheap pop for Chad Gable. But as a whole, as always, it is unseasonably warm. It is pathologically frugal. John, what is it?
Dom, this was cheap heat. All right.
Yes, sir.
We're going to head on into the Italian goodbye.
There we go. Anybody else still with us in the chat? Tell us, what did you think of Cheap Heat? Any stories that we missed that you thought were big this week that you heard about? Any takes we had on any of the items we covered that you disagree with or agree with? Do you have a slightly different take? Anything to add? Bring them on if you're still in the chat. We will keep going with you as long as people want to comment here. If you're watching on the archive over at YouTube, subscribe while you're there. Hit us up in the comments. What do you think of some of these items here?
Yeah, now's the time, because we are going to hang around for the Italian goodbye. We like talking to you guys. Chat whatever you want. Chat your heart away. If we've had people on, they're just being a little quiet. That's okay. But go ahead and chat with us, please. It's very helpful.
Yes.
Dom, are we doing you want to do a couple subscriber videos?
We've asked people to subscribe. We like it, right? Subscribe to us. Maybe I'll look purdy for this one.
Oh, here we go.
So we've said, we're getting the windscreen out of the way there. I mean, we've said before, thank you to everybody who helped us climb that first mountain. Help us climb the next one. Do we have 1,050, 1,060? Do we have 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 subscribers out there? Help us get that next hill. We like climbing, and as long as you're with us, we're going to keep going. Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel over at YouTube.
I love it. Perfect.
Right?
One take. It's all it took. One take.
Thank you to all our viewers, all our subscribers for getting us over the 1,000 mark. But hey, there's still plenty of room on the Don't Bury the Lead bandwagon. Do we have 1,100, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000? Is there another mountain to climb in our future? Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel at YouTube.
Yes. I love it, because guess what? We are climbing. And at the end of the day, that was a fantastic one. That will be a short, and I'll download it, and I'll put it in videos going forward. The one I had up for you was like so old, but I was like, this is the only thing I could really find.
It was down around 115. No, that's old school. Don't Bury the Lead.
Yeah, way old school. Asking for 1,000 subscribers.
Should Don't Bury the Lead get our own branded whiskey? Tell us in the comments. Woo!
Yeah. Should we get our own branded whiskey? I'll tell you what, compared to The Rock, Ric Flair is going to step his game up. The Rock is pushing his whiskey. He's saying all this stuff about it. and you look at um, what's it called?
Ric Flair's Wooski versus The Rock's Tequila.
The Rock's Tequila. Where is this? I can't even find it anywhere.
You're having trouble finding the tequila.
No. I'm sorry.
The Wooski, okay.
The whiskey. I could not find it. I wanted it so bad, and it's nowhere to be found, and I haven't heard anything about it.
I had to settle for the kid-size fireball left over from trick-or-treating.
Yeah, The Rock's tequila. I'll even tell you this anecdotally. I was in line at a liquor store, and this person's next to me, and she says, "Oh," and there's a huge picture of The Rock and all this tequila. All this tequila's like, "Oh, I didn't know The Rock had his own tequila. Oh, cool. Oh, should we get this?" And they bought a bottle of it because she's like, "Oh, I have a friend that likes The Rock, so I'm gonna get it."
There you go.
So this guy knows how to advertise, and we got Ric Flair. We got nothing,
Yeah, I mean, the Nature Boy would have, cardboard cutouts of him in every liquor store that would want it. Perhaps in the robe from the old Nature Boy world title run era.
Right.
Yeah, it's very good. So next week, Elimination Chamber. We will back here Saturday night a little later than we usually are because we've got to wait for Elimination Chamber to finish before we can recap it. So we'll be starting up maybe around 10 p.m. Eastern time here in the U.S.
That's next Saturday?
Yeah, I think they're advertising a 7 o'clock start in Toronto.
Okay, yeah. They're usually over a little early. Sometimes they start early, too. Maybe the pre-show is at 6 to 7, and then they go 7 to
pre-show at 6. Royal Rumble really got me. They started that at 6, and then there was no way to watch the replay on Peacock.
And that's all on the app. I feel like they didn't even do that on purpose. We have Peacock, and there's a show that Liz watches, and she just guts it out. But the audio isn't synced with the mouths of the people. I think there's some serious glitches with that app sometimes.
Okay. Well, I will try not to test it this Saturday. I am aiming to be there for some of the pre-show just to make sure that when this premium live event starts, I am ready to watch. I got my notepad out here on my laptop, and I'm typing away with the little things that stood out for me. So as soon as this program is done, you and I can go ahead and recap it. In fact, if we're early enough, do you want to do Cheap Heat before Elimination Chamber?
Yes, I do.
If it's a 7 o'clock start, do you want to aim for 6:30 and we'll do some Cheap Heat?
So I need to put I need to put the baby down around 7:15. So I should have everything set up and then do it. I think I should be able to. Let me give you a good idea as far as the timing's concerned, though. I'll have to work it out with Liz. Maybe she could put the baby down, and I'll just do the thing.
Okay.
Up here,
because 6:30 would make it tough if you have duties with the third man in the booth there.
Yeah. I'll let you know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's next week. That's Elimination Chamber. We had the go home show tonight, which was the Rock show.
Now, there will be some good stuff on SmackDown next Friday, but we're going to push it a day and recap Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we have done in the past. Although I may see if maybe there's a little bit of SmackDown that I want to just watch at least some of the highlights of just to get a picture of. We have had in the past some really good stuff happen the eve of a Saturday premium live event. I will still tell anybody who cares to talk with me about, which is almost no one, but that the eve of Bash in Berlin in 2024 was my men's match of the year. Ludwig Kaiser got his WrestleMania moment the eve of Bash at Berlin against LA Knight in that U.S. title open challenge match.
The SmackDown before,
something really cool happens on that. The eve of Elimination Chamber 2023, when they had Sami Zayn close the show, and the crowd was so raucous for him that he was out there for 10 minutes in the ring with a microphone and didn't say a word. the show just went off the air with Sammy just looking around at everybody who would not stop cheering. So every now and then, yeah, there's something gold that happens the eve of a premium live event. So maybe I'll peek in just in case. But yeah, the big show for next weekend for the next Don't Bury the Lead live stream will be the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view premium live event.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be next week. Sorry. Oh boy, time goodbye, getting me. Dom, on an unrelated note, I got the bus stop book.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't read your section yet. I saw you have a little thing that you wrote up.
I was interviewed for it over Messenger and sent in some written responses to questions.
Okay. Yeah.
I was told I was in there. I'm waiting for perhaps a release party for the book in order to get my copy.
Yeah.
I was told perhaps that is in the works. But yes, you purchased yours, I'm guessing online, publishing on demand.
Amazon. Yeah.
There you go. Amazon
Yeah,
on demand publishing. Yep.
I used Amazon to get it, and yeah, I have the book now, and I didn't read your piece. I read Fran's and Vic's.
Okay.
They were both very good.
All right.
It was a little bit like a shoot promo when they talked about the past. And because Fran's talking and talking and talking, and he's saying nice things. He's saying nice things. But you know what? If people were messing around, we would kick them out of the bus stop. We didn't mess around. We bounced them right out. So that's what was so good about it. We can control that thing. And
all right.
And he also there was some heat with some other coffee shops or whatever. I guess he said
I gave kind of a shoot. Mine was a shoot. Like I answered everything honestly. I mean, I didn't really have anything bad to say, but I was just telling people what it was like back then. I was there years ago before it was a restaurant. That's where you and I met.
Yeah.
I used to host the open mic back when it was a record store, not a restaurant.
Yeah.
And then it became a restaurant. And then a few years after that, a lot of us who met through the Bus Stop Music Cafe started up NJCW, New Jersey Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, that's how we really started to get to know each other.
Did anybody mention the $2 Happy Meal at Chalene's Pub after open mic nights?
I'll have to look it up.
Rolling Rock draft pints and $1 personal pizzas.
The best, the absolute best meal in America was, the $1 pizza, $1 Rolling Rock.
Yes.
Unreal. $2 for a meal. For real.
I gotta tell you something. I went out to see Fran and our buddy Steve, guys we know from wrestling, but also musicians from way back. Just to see, I hadn't seen Fran in a while, or Steve, especially Fran. And so I went out to see Fran's hosting an open showcase at another venue somewhere in Pittman. And just went to say hello. Just sat down in the chair, hanging out with him. And Steve says to me, "You want to get on the list?" I said, "I didn't bring anything. I'm just here to watch and say hello." And he said, "You could borrow my guitar. I'll put you on the list."
Okay.
And so I said, "All right, if you say so, I'm on the list." And so, towards the end of the night, I got up there, I sat down in the chair with Steve's guitar, which I'd never played before, but I thank him for it.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and played 3 songs. And the funny thing was there were a lot of people there who know me from the last 10 or 15 years. They had no idea I used to be a musician.
Oh, wow.
So I'm up there playing, and when I'm done, like, people are coming up to me with their mouths open going, "I didn't know you played." Yeah, from a long time ago. So I wonder how many people are getting the Bus Stop book and going, "He hosted this thing?"
Yeah. He's
really?
Like the original.
19 years ago, he hosted this thing?
Were you hosting it before Fran was there?
Fran worked there, then left. So I hosted when they had another guy who was an employee there who ran sound during the open mic. Then he left to go out to Arizona and study. I think one of the Arizona universities has a really good music production department. So he went out there to study, good big time music production, digital music production. And that's when Fran came back and started running sound at the Bus Stop. So 2008, those 4.5 months or so before it became a restaurant, Fran was back running sound and working at the bus stop during the day.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, he and I worked together at the open mic for that last maybe half year that I was on. And then
Mhm.
once the restaurant opened up, Vic and all the employees, especially as he was going to have more employees there now as a restaurant, they took over hosting all the events. So I
Yeah.
think that's when Vic and Fran especially started hosting more of the events that were there, including the weekly open showcases.
Gotcha.
But yes, I do. I remember Fran from there. I remember Vic. I remember for a while Vic had partners with him who were there, who were necessary really to infuse a little extra cash in order to convert that old building into a restaurant.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Because you got to do a lot of interior work as far as your infrastructure in order to
Mhm.
go from just being an open storefront to being a restaurant and you're serving food to people.
Mhm.
So yes, I do remember he had a husband and wife team who came in to partner with him for the restaurant. I do remember that as I think he was trying to give them the sales pitch about what he envisioned for the place with a restaurant, he would bring them out to open mic nights on Tuesdays there. And maybe it helped that we had such a large and enthusiastic crowd there, not just people playing, but people hanging out, that maybe
Mhm.
convinced them to go ahead and take the plunge there and turn it
Yeah.
into a restaurant.
Right.
From what I could tell, it was working as a restaurant until Vic started renting the space to some people who wanted to turn it into a microbrewery, really
Yeah.
a nano brewery, just one of those very small local places where most of what they make you have to buy and consume in the brewery itself.
Yeah.
And then I think he may have gotten this may be in the book, but he got a really big offer just for the building. And then somebody converted what had been the old record store, then the bus stop restaurant, and then the Human Village Brewery into a restaurant now.
Mhm.
So lot has happened with that building. I will say this, Vic, who started the bus stop as a record store and then tried to make it a restaurant and did successfully, he was really the forerunner for what became the business redevelopment along Broadway in the borough of Pittman.
Yeah.
Like, it was Vic's enthusiasm and going to other people in town, what he wanted to do with the bus stop as a destination to bring people who were not already in Pittman into Pittman. When the Broadway Theater opened up, that was the big thing. But Vic was doing that before the Broadway Theater opened, trying to
Mhm.
give people a reason who did not live in Pittman to come to Pittman. Because Pittman's charm was always that it was a walkable community and it really just served the people of Pittman.
Yeah.
And Vic had a vision that it could be bigger than that. And the bus stop was really the first place that was very vocal about trying to be a destination and to bring more people into Pittman who weren't already there.
And now it is. It's absolutely a destination.
Yep.
I'll tell you, it's so much of a destination that my wife and her sister went to. There's like a marshmallow place in Pittman. Like a
Yeah.
there's like a it's a bougie marshmallow place.
Oh, yes, of
Artisan
course.
marshmallow. It's called Artisan
Yep.
Marshmallow.
Artisanal stuff all over there. Yeah.
Yeah. So and they went there to get the marshmallows from there for gifts to give to people.
There you go.
So this is just before Christmas. So yeah,
Yeah. Very
it's
good.
become. And I was walking around there because I had seen them play. They did like a little thing where everyone's playing on the corner or whatever, like a busk. I don't know what that
Yeah,
was.
busking thing. They do first fall festivals there where people are outside of stores along Broadway, or they do a porch fest where some people can sign up to give over their porch,
Mhm.
at their home business to do it. Yes.
So I
I
was
know what you're
there,
talking about.
and I was walking through Pittman. I was like, this place used to be pretty dead, not dead, but like pretty remote. Like it was just the bus stop. I think there's the Italian restaurant, and then there's, the smoke shop at the end of or
Few pizza places in the bus stop.
yeah, a couple pizza places, hoagie place, nothing.
And then it became BYOB restaurants. Now there's 2 liquor licenses in town. There's a bar right next to the theater that has a
Mhm.
liquor license. There's a huge pub
Yeah.
that has a liquor license now, full service. Both of the nano breweries that popped up after the bus stop cafe they're out now. They're done.
Yeah.
They had their complete lifespan and they're gone now. But now it's full service alcohol licenses there, liquor licenses, and so many restaurants catering to the number of people who come into mostly the Broadway theater and all the events that go on there. But like you're saying, your wife and her sister went down there for some of the artisan shops
Yeah.
that are going on.
I was walking down the road. I looked to my right, and there's this building, and there's all these girls like dressed up, and they're up there. They're having like a bridal shower, up in. It's like a little area, like almost like a rooftop deck. They're out there, and
there's like a brunch place that does that.
And it's a bridal shower. I'm like, damn,
Yep.
dude, this place blew up.
Yep.
But yeah, so good for Pittman, and kudos to the bus stop guys for doing
Kudos to Vic Martinson for making it a big deal and putting it forefront in people's minds, and also not just talking about it, but he put up his own business and a lot of his own energy to try and make something that could be a destination in that town.
Do you think you're going to play guitar again now that you played on the other night, or that was just a one-off?
I don't know if I'll ever gig again, but yeah, I mean, to go out there and do 3 songs, apparently I still got it,
Yeah.
Ask the people who were there at the paint ground if I'm still passable as a guy who used to sing and play guitar, and I didn't have the harmonicas with me, but it was just did 3 songs on Steve's large acoustic guitar there, which I thank him for lending me. But I still got it.
That's because you still play at your house, right?
Yeah, I do kitchen concerts all the time for myself. Yeah, over my right shoulder, there's a guitar neck there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guitar. I am guitar sitting for some friends who asked me to watch their guitar for them.
Oh,
so
wow.
Mine is in the other room, leaning up against the air chair, while this one gets to stay in the formal guitar stand behind me.
It gets in the formal guitar stand, and it gets on the show too. It gets
it gets to be here on Don't Bury the Lead. It is now my backdrop for Don't Bury the Lead. There it is.
All right, Tom. Well, I know we've got 2 viewers here, and they're probably like, "What the hell are they talking about?" But we're
talking about how it's Elimination Chamber 7 days from today, 1 week from tonight, and Don't Bury the Lead will be back live streaming with you after Elimination Chamber from Toronto, the big premium live event for WWE, the last one they do before WrestleMania. Tune in to the premium live event. Tune in to Don't Bury the Lead. Or if you got to miss one of them, miss the premium live event. Just hear us talk about it.
Dom, this has been a really fun show. This is a nice long one. We haven't done a long one in a while. So I think we got a lot of good stuff out of the Cheap Heat.
We're like The Rock tonight.
We are like The Rock.
We've gone heel. We've gone face. People don't know what the hell we're talking about.
We're talking about other things that aren't wrestling. Yeah, totally.
Those of you watching right now, I want your soul. Subscribe at Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel on YouTube. I want you to be my champion. My champion of subscribing at YouTube. I want your soul.
That's a short. That is a short. All right, I think on that note, we cannot top it. So my name's Sean Tindell. Tom, thanks so much for joining. We will be back here next week, right after Elimination Chamber. So if you're watching this now, or if you see it later, go ahead and be aware that we'll be live after Elimination Chamber. I appreciate everyone for hanging in here. We had a couple people that stayed the whole show, and have a great rest of your